Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Scottsdale Living Podcast. I am Dr. Ember Enright. I'm a physical therapist here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I have today's guest on with me, Cari Kamp, who owns Kamp Tidbits. And I've actually known Cari for, I think, about 4 or 5 years now. I think 5. And she's become very highly integrated into some of my patients' lives. And also, I introduced her to a few naturopathic doctors in town who have absolutely raved about her end product with some of their patients. And so I want to let Cari, you can introduce yourself about what you do and a little bit about your business.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. So I'm Cari Kamp. I am a certified health and wellness coach, and my focus is nutrition. I think the biggest thing people think of, coaching when it comes to nutrition, that, it's these really specific meal plans and you have to eat certain things. For me, I look at it as a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing it for a few years now. And my reason for that is because over 10 years ago, I was thin. I was diagnosed with prediabetes and low thyroid, and I was not given an option besides to go on medication, which I chose not to do. I knew that I could reverse my A1C and lower those numbers. And I wanted to do it because I knew there was something that I was doing wrong in my healthy diet that was causing inflammation. So my A1C is 5 now. It's low. I'm eating more than I ever have, and I feel great. And I want other people to know that there's options to be able to not always have to increase medications if they're willing to change what they eat, because those foods can cause inflammation, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, or different things, autoimmune. And so I like to help people, give them an option, and it's a choice.
I love how you talk about food and what we're putting into our body as causing some chain reaction like inflammation. And I think that there's like kind of a misnomer going on about what inflammation is, because really you only hear about that from like naturopathic doctors, functional medicine doctors. But when everybody else goes in, they hear the values like A1C, my cholesterol, and they really still don't even know what that means. But essentially, like you mentioned for diabetes, when you have diabetes, a metabolic process is essentially disrupted. And the big kicker is that it's highly linked to cardiovascular disease, because insulin, you could think of it as like this big, hairy sticker. Those little stickers that used to get caught on all your clothes?
Burrs.
Like the burrs. Some of them are big, and insulin travels through the blood vessels, and it essentially like kind of scrapes the lining. And so if you have other inflammatory cholesterols available, it will cover these little scabs and scrapes and essentially close the opening of your vessels. Constriction, history or risk of stroke goes up. The cardiovascular events are the long-term implications of things like diabetes. That's why we worry about neuropathy. Same kind of thing. We're
so true.
Bathing the nerves in compression. We're bathing them in inflammatories, and they essentially can't breathe. They can't get a break. Like a boa constrictor just wrapped around them. You're trying to breathe in, and every time you breathe out, it's squeezing. So when we think of inflammation, talk to me about that. Talk to me about what that means in the world of nutrition.
Okay. So for me, I see so many different clients, and my coaching is never the same. So when it comes to, say, dementia, we're looking at the brain. I mean, inflammation is everywhere, but we're looking at specific foods. Seed oils, highly, inflammatory to the brain. And when we're able to reduce that inflammation, people are having better mental clarity. And you don't have to be old to have this. People think of brain fog and memory issues as being old. No, it can be a lot of different things. Inflammation can be a disruptor to hormones. And it's not just your reproductive hormones. It's your thyroid, it's your sleep, it's your hunger, all these different things. Inflammation can be a trigger for autoimmune, whether it's lupus or I've had, Epstein-Barr issues and all sorts of different things. So it's all this underlying, but what's the trigger, right? Everyone has a different trigger of why that is now inflamed. So whether it's years of eating certain things or if they've added something new. My husband and I were just talking about this morning. I mean, 90% of food was not even around 100 years ago. And it's so inflammatory, and there's so many processed things that can be a trigger for anybody. But the nice thing is you can change that. You can make different choices, 1% a day. You don't have to make these huge choices. It's about a lifestyle change. When it comes to diets, I don't talk about diets because people think of a diet and fail. And so a lot of my clients have tried everything under the sun and they're like, I just want to learn how to eat differently. And I'm like, you can eat delicious food. It's not out of a package. And whether their lifestyle is they travel every week or they don't cook or they have 5 kids or they love to cook, my coaching is individual. It's a customized individual, because if I'm telling you to eat certain things that you hate Italian and I have all these Italian recipes, it's not going to work. So it has to be where, oh my gosh, I can eat, different types of breads, but we're making them different with egg whites or whatever, or different protein brownies or whatever, because we want things to taste good. And you can still go out to a restaurant or event or a wedding and enjoy yourselves, right? And make it a lifestyle. So it's not about a diet.
Yeah, I think of diet as a dirty word. And so do a lot of my patients who are interested in like essentially a weight loss journey or changing their inflammatory markers because something has come up. And it's interesting because we all kind of become more accountable at some point where it forced us to grow up. For you, it was learning about prediabetes and A1C. For some people, it's hearing a diagnosis that's very different for them.
Scary.
Or like seeing their kids for the first time and be like, wow, I really want to be able to live for these kids. Like I want to be around. And so it's interesting to think of diet as such a dirty word when really they're looking for something so much more. So how easy is that transition to make in somebody's mind when you're going from talking about they're on a diet or what do I eat?
Yes.
And thinking about meal plans. What are you doing that's different there?
So my coach is a internationally known nutritionist. She's been doing this for 25 years. She's written 20 cookbooks. So I have access to all these different amazing recipes, thousands of them. So when I look at a person, I'm like, what do you like to eat? Right? What are the things that you enjoy? And I customize, I customize it to them, but I don't do meal plans, because meal plans, people think, oh my gosh, I got to eat this. And if I don't eat this, then I'm going to fail. I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you, 20 different sauce recipes. And I'm going to send you all these different, soup recipes or healthy ice cream or whatever it may be. So they can pick and choose. It's not about me telling them what to do. It's me saying, here's such a wide variety. I'm like, if you feel like you don't have something that you enjoy to eat, then you need to let me know and I'll find it for you. The only thing I can't really find something for is fruit, right? That's the only thing I can't really substitute for. Everything else, I can find a substitution. And that's where I'm like, let's have fun with this, right? I mean, if you're getting ready to go to Thanksgiving dinner, you can still eat a lot of good things. Bring the things you like to eat, right? So you don't have to go off the rails specifically because there's a barbecue or an event. So I customize it to what they like to eat, what their lifestyle is. If they're traveling a lot, I help them, hey, how do you prepare for your travels, right? Whether it's to Ireland or whether it's to a ball game up to Vegas, right? So thinking about that ahead of time, a little pre-planning, but also them recognizing that I meet with them every single day. I do an email, science-based. I was in medicine for 20 years. So I recognize good studies and want to make sure that they understand that these are choices, but I want to give them the other side of the coin. Like I like to say, is you've been taught that this food is healthy for you, but is it? And when they recognize that it's not healthy for them and there's another view that they can look at in an educated way, they're making a choice now that they know, and they can still choose, right? I'm never going to shame them. I'm always going to give them support, but I want them to know because I didn't know. Right. I did not know. And I'm like, people need to know, right? What is the truth? And I think so many companies are trying to sell their brand or, hey, this is healthier, organic. And I teach people how to read labels and what is the ingredients. Okay, those ingredients says there's no sugar, but there's 5 different sugars in there because there's 65 names of sugar.
Right.
How do people know that? Right. So
100%.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary right now. We are actually living in the age of like new ingredients being made, manufactured foods essentially. Whereas, in the 50s, it was like, this is grown food. This is agricultured food. Most of it here in the States.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have access to all of these things, tons of manufactured food. But the problem is that they're so easy to grab.
Yep.
And so I want to ask you, like, we live in the era of, I need it right now, and that's too much work. So can people still be successful with this? And how much time are you really spending preparing your food each day? Because I think that that's probably one of the biggest barriers for people is they can't wrap their mind around like, well, now I can't go out. Now I have kids to get to sports and there's no way I can do this, Cari. Like there's no way. And then also wouldn't it just be easier for me to like go get a metabolic booster shot instead of have to use nutrition to lose weight?
Well, and those are two really good points. For one, let's focus on lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times, the best thing I bought was a big freezer for $300, and I have it in my garage. And so I do batch cooking. So if I'm going to make
Smart.
meatballs, I do 3 pounds of meatballs where I have 5 dozen meatballs, and I throw them in the freezer. And when my husband is home, or if I'm by myself, I throw them in the air fryer. So I teach people, hey, if you're going to
Mhm.
make a big pot of chili or Italian, chicken soup, let's do a double batch and freeze half of it. It doesn't have to be hard. What do your kids like to eat?
Mhm.
You can make waffles, protein, pancakes, things like that. So they can still go out for dinner. I'd help them, hey, these are all these different restaurants. What would you choose? I want them to tell me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you different options that you can choose that, but you're not going to feel so good the next day.
Mhm.
So here are things you can choose. And don't be afraid to say to your waiter, I'd like it a little bit different. And they
Okay.
want to make you happy. They want to have you come back. So I think that's the thing, is people are afraid to speak up for what
Mhm.
they really want or need. But that's what I want to teach them, because then they don't have to be afraid, and it's not a big deal, right? On the other hand, when we're getting, I have, when people are going in and getting different vitamin boosters and things like that, it's fine if it gives them some energy and things like that. But
Mm.
you cannot rely on that, because if you don't change what you eat, kind of like I go to the gym and there are some classes that I take, the same people look the same 2 years later. They haven't changed. They still are at a place where they want to lose weight, but they don't change anything. I am grateful and happy that they're at the gym, but unless you change what you're eating, that's 80 to 90% of weight loss.
Mm.
We have to stay physically fit and make sure that we're, keeping our lean muscle. But the problem is that we are doing it in a way where we're skipping nutrition.
Mm.
And, that is one of the biggest things, is people are focusing on different, GLP-1s and different diet shots and things like that, where they can be used as a tool. And for some people it is needed, but it's a very small percentage. And, that's where kind of the rabbit hole is people are going on a GLP-1 with 5 to 10, 20 pounds to lose. And all of a sudden they're losing a lot of muscle, but they've thought that they've lost fat. And now when they go off of it, they gain the weight back and more, and they have less muscle. So it's about education. It's not about saying everything is bad, but really, what is the truth, and where is it going to benefit you to where you're at, and what is your goal?
Okay, so you brought a great point, and I'm just going to bring it out. Like semaglutide and Ozempic are rampant. I mean, and we live in Scottsdale. I feel like tons of people in the last 2 years lost 100 pounds, and you know them, and eventually they're close to you and they tell you like, yeah, I did it with a semaglutide.
Mm-hmm.
And they hid it for a reason. They didn't want you to know that. When you saw them start to lose weight, sometimes it happened so rapidly. Is that unhealthy for people?
Well, I think the thing is that if they are not eating, right? When I'm seeing people that have lost a lot of weight, and then I'm seeing them, next to them in their chair is a little bag of potato chips, and that's their lunch. Yeah, that's really unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my concern. You can be on these, whether you're using it a tool, temporary, or if you have diabetes and you need to be on it, you still need to be aware and say, okay, I still need to fuel my body, right? So I still need nutrient-dense foods. And that's what I focus on, nutrient-dense foods, healthy meats, low process, no process, vegetables that are not going to spike your insulin, and all these different things. And so we're looking at it as like, where are you keeping your muscle? Because if you're not eating anything, you're not tapping into fat, because your body's saying, hey, I'm not getting any food. I'm going to just burn muscle because I need to hold on to this fat for energy. So being able to educate people in a way where you've lost a lot of weight, but there is no more volume in your face. And it's not because you were overweight and now there isn't any. You've lost, you're losing skeletal muscle. You're losing, all the lean muscle. And I think that's just, that's a huge problem, but people aren't educated on it, that they think, oh, I can just be on this and eat the way that I am. Well, the whole reason you got to this point is because of how you've been eating. You have to change what you're eating and really, get on a sort of a healthy coaching plan to know what to talk about. And I think the other thing with that is a lot of people are doing, these programs that are prepackaged foods that are all soy, right? And they are getting so inflamed and they're getting worse. And because there's so much money in it, right? That's this easy, let's grab this cereal, but it's all soy, or this protein bar, and it's causing this inflammation. So we got a couple different things going on, whether it's the semaglutide or the soy-based, diet foods that are rampant all over the world. But it's easy. So it doesn't have to be hard. There is a little bit of pre-planning when it comes to food, but I'm not spending hours and hours. Granted, on my Instagram, I post a lot of pictures because I want people to know what I'm eating, the meatballs and, the brownies and the different cookies, and that they, people think they can't eat any of that anymore. Well, they can. It's a different way to make it. But I think, unfortunately, when we're told that we can go on this medication and you have to stay on it for the rest of your life, as we know, there's always side effects with the medication. Whether people are getting a lot of digestive issues, they can't stay on it, gastroparesis. I mean, those are big deals. So I think that's when patients are coming to me and saying, I can't do it. I can't stay on this medication. How can you help me? And I'm like, well, let's start with the basics. It's 1% change every day. You can't outrun a bad diet. I don't care what you're on. I don't care what medication you're on. I've had clients that are in the gym 5 days a week and they're working out so hard. And guess what? They're getting muscle, building muscle, but they're not losing any fat.
So when people also lose weight, where they're losing their muscle, when I see a person who's lost a lot of weight and they're losing their muscle mass, they look ill.
Yeah.
They literally look ill. So they've lost a lot of weight and people comment on it all of the time. Oh my gosh, you look so great. But they also have this almost like their tongues pulled back a little bit. Like, oh, it looks so great. Because they're also doing this little evaluation. What is that? It just doesn't quite look like the same as what a healthy body looks like.
True.
And some of these people are in their 30s. Some of these people are in their 50s. They're not 80-year-olds who don't have this muscle mass. And that's when you start to see that happening naturally, where 70s, 80s, starting to lose muscle mass because you're not as active. So totally different time frame, age group, and then also almost like a thinning of the skin. I have my very favorite aunt is a chain smoker. I love her so much. She's a chain smoker, and I feel like her skin looks completely different than everyone else in her family and her sibling group. And I know it's from smoking. She's never going to give it up. She just lives on coffee and cigarettes. And she's thin, but that there's something under there that doesn't appear as healthy. And she accepts that. She's fine. She loves that. But on the flip side, I'm like, she is so beautiful. She is so full of life. And I worry about it for her. You know what I mean? So there's an appearance of health that comes from real food and real nutrition. So using food as your fuel, doing that 1% a day, that sounds totally outrageous to me, because people who want to lose weight, they're like, well, I need to get to 20 pounds. And I tell them 20 pounds is a ridiculous number. It's an arbitrary number we've made up. So what does 1% a day really look like? What does it feel like? How do you know if you're getting it?
Well, I think the thing is, most of the time people start to feel it themselves. They're sleeping better. They're not crabby. They're able to handle stress better. They have less brain fog. They remember what they're going to get in another room. I mean, simple things, right? Joint pain. So I had one client, he came to me. He had a hip replaced, knee replaced, ankle replaced. He has 11 pieces of metal. Great guy. And he said, hey, Cari, I just want to lose 20 pounds. I don't want to have to. And he's, my age, And so he's like, I don't want to have my other hip done right away. Well, we didn't think about anything else. He's in pain 24 hours a day. Day 4, he didn't have any pain in his neck. Day 21, he went walking with his wife in Laguna, and he's like, I know I'm not going to be able to get out of bed tomorrow morning. No pain. It's been a year. I actually met with him a couple days ago. It's been over a year. He has no pain. And it was all based on inflammation. His doctor told him it was genetic and he was going to have it for the rest of his life.
Oh my gosh.
These are the things where that's why I do what I do. So
what a big
whether
miss
it's
in medicine.
Well, and you know what? Nobody talks about nutrition because they just feel it's a gene, or this is your, this is your luck in life, right? So my thing is, we all have different things in our body, but what's triggering it? And so 1% a day is different for everybody. Because at the beginning, when you're getting off all the things that aren't good for you, for your body specifically, you're not feeling so good. So I'm like, I get them over the bridge. And once they start feeling good around 14, 18, 21 days, then they're like, I'm off to the races. I'm not going back. And I think some people lose 20 pounds in a month. Some people lose 5. But guess what? They feel so good. And the other thing I talk to them about is body composition is different than the scale. A scale is going to lie. If you're working out more because you have energy and you are now building muscle, don't worry about the scale. How are your clothes fitting? How are you feeling? Where is your zest for life? Where is that? Where, really focus on that, because all of a sudden it's like this light is just flipped on. It is amazing to see when people are not in that inflamed state, how good they can feel, right? And they know when they've eaten something that no longer agrees with them, because they're like, oh my gosh, Cari, I didn't sleep all night. I didn't feel, and I'm like, okay, so it's a meal. This is, and not to beat yourself up. That's the other thing is like, it's a meal. If you go off the rails, it's a meal. Don't make it your whole life. Get back on track. Eat the things you like to eat that are good for you, right? Let's fuel you so you can enjoy every day. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I sure want to feel good. And I don't care what age you're at. How much do you want to take out of this day? And do you want to be tired and feel awful? And it's, body image too. We are in Scottsdale, but it's all over the world, right? And I think, nobody's going to look like anybody else. But when you are 50 pounds, 20 pounds, 100 pounds overweight, I mean, it's really, your body is struggling. So I'm working with a client, she's 465 pounds. She's 66 years old. She's a nurse. And she's like, I don't know how I got this way. She wounded her foot. And I work with 4 assisted living facilities here. And he's incredible and he really cares. And we want people to get better. We want people to go home. This is more like a rehab assisted facility for dementia or whatever it may be. And, she's lost 120 pounds in like 16 weeks. And we're getting her a boot and she hasn't even started exercising yet. So that's the difference is like and she's like, I cannot believe it. I thought I'm a nurse. How come I don't know these things? And I'm like, and it's not about how we're trained, because we know that in medicine, that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be treating people, doing surgery, whatever it may be. But not to know, that's where I feel bad and where I really want to step in. Anybody who wants to learn, I'm here to coach them. If they're not ready, I'm not ready. There is never any pressure, because unless somebody is ready, and I help them as they're going through the 30 days to change their mindset on what they're choosing. They can choose any food they want. Right? So it's not like I can't have that, and how to really talk to family members and friends like, hey, I'm doing this for my health. You can eat whatever you want. But I'm choosing a different path for me and my health. So I feel great.
Yeah. I thought about something that you just said, and I was thinking about how inflammation is like, it's a good word, but people still don't quite understand it. And my family grew up eating McDonald's. Like people think of America and we think of McDonald's, and how inflammatory it is. And when I went to college, I didn't have it for years. And the first time I had it again, my body felt terrible, like really terrible. And I remember, it just didn't seem that common not to have it until it was completely gone. And so thinking about that, I also think about like alcohol. There's a sobriety movement going on and I love it. I fully support it. I'm not all the way on that train. Okay. But when I do have a drink, my body feels terrible. It's like inflammation causes essentially a hangover. It's not just the alcohol, but your body is responding. And when I think about food inflammation causing a hangover in my body or a hangover in my gut or making my joints and muscles literally sore, that's kind of what I think of as like a hangover in parts of my body because of alcohol. Food can do the same things. Sure. You mentioned seed oils and I don't know. I mean, I know people know that there's like more good fats and bad fats, but they're like, well, what is seed oils? What is seed oils? What is it found in? I mean, everything that we get at fast food has a seed oil in it. Everything that looks creamy has a seed oil in it. So how do people pick those and what's the best oil?
Okay. So 2 different things I want to touch on: seed oils, canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. Those are all in salad dressings and things like that. Your mayonnaise is canola oil. So those oils are more inflammatory to the brain than smoking or sugar. So just kind of let that soak in. So when we have people that are having mental issues and we get them off of seed oils and sugar and things like that, guess what? They start remembering things and they're functioning better and they're able to go home and live by themselves. So that's the first thing. So healthy oils, we have to have fat. We have to have 50 grams of healthy fat a day for our hormones to work the best. Our brain is a third cholesterol. We need healthy fat. So if you do dairy, butter is fine. You can do coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, those types of things, right? So some people can't do dairy because it's inflammatory for them. So that's one thing. The other thing, let's talk about alcohol. So I also had a low thyroid. And because a lot of things are converted and your liver does a lot of things, I chose to stop drinking 2 years ago. And I love wine and all those things. So I didn't stop because of that. I stopped because, hey, if I'm telling my clients that they need to reduce inflammation and I'm not doing it to see how it's working for me, my thyroid improved 90% just by dropping the alcohol. And I did not drink a lot. However, I always noticed that when I had a glass of wine, I didn't sleep as good. I felt groggy the next day. I wasn't hungover. It was a glass of wine. But I also recognized the effect that it had on my liver. Other thing that people don't recognize is there is no storage in the body for alcohol when it comes to oxidative priority, thermic effect of food, things like that. So it has to burn off food. It has to burn off first. So what happens is when you're eating a meal with alcohol, everything goes into fat storage because it has to burn it first. So people are trying to lose weight when they're drinking a lot of alcohol. We talk about that. They can still drink. If that's their choice, but I want them to understand what that means. But it also, suppresses testosterone for 24 hours, up to 24 hours. So when people are doing all their shots and they're wanting to, do all these things for infertility, if you're drinking, you're not helping yourself. And it also raises estrogen dominance, which is the unhealthy estrogen, 300%. So these are the things that you can still have that. I just want people to understand. And it's a choice, right? I'm not telling them, I'm educating. And that's where, yes, I'm a coach, but truly I'm an educator because I want people to understand what their choices are so they can make the best choice for them.
I really like that. And it's all about practice, right? So tell me just a little bit about how does this work? If I am like, listen, I know you're the person for me. I know that you're the coach that's going to give me the right advice and help me walk this walk. What does it look like?
So I do a 30-day coaching program and it's consecutively 30 days. I have 4 different coaching calls. First one is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. They filled out an assessment. So I want to know what they eat, the brands of I don't want them to feel bad about anything. I just need to know the breads that they're eating and their snacks and whatever they're doing. And we go through all that. Any labs that they have from their doctors, we go through it and discuss it at a deeper level. And then I send out a different email based on, hey, if somebody has, a liver issue and has thyroid issues, everything is customized to that person. So there is never anything where they're all the same. It just, nobody's the same, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the differences. And I customize it to what they like to eat and what their lifestyle is. I do another call 7 days later, another one about 12 days later. I'm available to them. They can send me an email 20 times a day. I don't care. I am there for them as an advocate. There's never a silly question. And if I don't know it, I will find out. I'll reach out to my mentor and just say, hey, what do you think about this? So there is never anything that I, don't want to help them with. And there's never anything silly. So we do 4 coaching calls, but after 30 days, they've got hundreds and hundreds of recipes. They're able to make it into a lifestyle. I've helped people where they're, 2 weeks, they're in Europe. And we're walking through how to do that, right? What do you what do you take on the plane? What do you eat when you get in these little cafes, And most of them have lost weight when they're still enjoying it and eating their way through Europe, but they're losing weight. And that's where, I went on a cruise, the West Indies, and it was like, I didn't gain any weight, but I ate a lot. So it's having fun with it too. They don't have to start this big exercise routine, but I do want them to start walking in the morning and I want them to get some sort of movement and then get to a personal trainer or to a gym or somewhere that they can have fun and start building the muscle. So they don't need me after 30 days. I'm available if they want to do a coaching call here and there, but they don't need me.
I think that that's a beautiful thing. And honestly, I have patients who have been considering Ozempic. Their doctor essentially said, hey, you need to lose weight. Let's get you on this because they thought, well, that's what they wanted. And a couple of my patients said, I'm not doing it because I know that there's a fear that I'm never going to be independent. And once I get off of it, I'm going to gain all the weight back. And a lot of the indications are demonstrating that because people have not learned the self-discipline, And we think about that, like, do I make my bed in the morning? Do I pick my clothes up off the floor? Like, how much self-discipline do I have for basic things in my life, these habits? when do I get gas? Am I really running out? Like, there's little things that kind of show us how likely we are to succeed in an area. And then also we just have to make up our minds. We have to make up our minds and stick to something. So a lot of them actually said that they'd prefer this method because they knew that their success was based on their own self-discipline, their own ability to say yes, and their own ability to stick with it. Now they know it on that basis. And then seeing that they have friends who have risk factors that are essentially that they don't want to be on this medication, that it's not going to be covered by their insurance. And then the fear that they've been still eating the same way, they know themselves. So they'd rather do it essentially, quote, the right way than do it that way. And I just applaud so many of those people, and they need resources like you. I also know for sure that you can help people with cardiac, kidney, liver restrictions. And so I want to thank you for that because there are so many providers who really don't know anything about that. And it's something that you've helped people with, come up with things, even just being a helpful person or a helpful friend to me and being like, yeah, I can come up with some things for people who've just started out and they got some, oh, you're supposed to be on a kidney diet now. And they're just like, I have no idea what this means. Why? And what does it mean? And just helping people. So thank you so much for your program. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for helping all my friends who are in the medical industry to really tap into this next level that we don't have time for, quite frankly. When I go to see someone, I have time for the thing that they came in for and not for the thing that they're asking for that's about daily behavioral change, the 1% a day. The food is medicine, the changing how we're thinking about what we're feeding our bodies instead of accessing quick snacks that have no benefit to my body. And I really think that shifts things for people when they hear from someone like you. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I think the big thing is I don't compete with any doctors. Or, I work with stem cell docs and I work with doctors who their patients need to lose 100 pounds before surgery. So I want to enhance the results for any doctor, any physical therapist, any personal trainer, because I'm only 30 days. Would they continue on with them in their program? And I'm like, I want the best for their patients too. So this is not about me going up against somebody and saying, I want to enhance everything that they're doing, and they don't have the time.
You're great about that. I've never had anybody say like, oh yeah, I'm worried Cari's going to come in and she's going to take that patient, because you're such a good teammate. You like to uplift everybody in their role and make sure that somebody's getting back to the provider that evaluated them. One, probably because you want them to see the change, right?
Part of it.
Yeah, you need to show your doctor this because, and for example, like if your A1C is changing, if you've effectively changed your weight and your A1C and your inflammation in your body, your doctor needs to see that because there's a good chance they may have to adjust your medications, your blood pressure medications. So people don't really realize all the implications it can have, but you're very skilled in your area.
Thank you.
And I just love working with you. So thank you so much for being on today. And how do people contact you? How do they get more information?
They can just reach out, right? My website is kamptidbits.com. They can go to the calendar, just click on a free consult. I always give free consults. There's never any pressure. I want to know what's going on and seeing if it's a fit. If it's a fit, great. If you choose a year later that it's a fit, great. So there's never any pressure, but I want people to know that there is a resource that may work for them. And if it's the right time, great. And if, I just want people to understand that there is another option.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
That has been today's episode of the Scottsdale Living Podcast. We'll catch you next time.